Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Reborn Football Podcast. I'm Tans and I'm here with,
Fuego.
and as usual, we're going to start with our verse of the episode, but today we're going to have two verses of the episodes as we decide to discuss two different things today. So, overall today for our faith segment of the episode, we're going to discuss the first part of two parts. So we're going to discuss the other half of this kind of topic in the next episode. So we're going to discuss the four kind of Greek meanings of love that are found in the Bible. These being philia, storge, eros, and agape. Yeah, that's pronunciation is probably not perfect, but today we're just gonna discuss philia and storge. So I'm gonna start with philia, and then afterwards, Fuego will discuss storages. So, philia is the Greek word for, keeping it simple, brotherly love, or showing that love, deep affection, compassion, all the kind of like positive attributes of love, showing that in a brotherly, friendly way towards people around you. So, fun fact: the city in America, Philadelphia, is called the city of brotherly love because it is named after the word philia. So the verse that we've attached to the meaning of this word is Proverbs 17:17, which is, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. So it just kind of shows that one of the important um, ways that we need to show love to each other is within a brotherly way, being support systems for one another, with this walk, not just as Christians, but in general as humans. We're not supposed to do it on our own. We're supposed to do it in conjunction with one another. You can even, on a slight kind of tangent, even the verse where God says, where two or three are gathered in his name, he's there with them. So just the whole essence of showing that, having that community, showing that love, deep, affection, compassion, and joy to be around one another is kind of what sums up the Greek word for love being philia.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what Tan said there. It's all kind of underpinned by togetherness. Just as he said, being there for each other, being able to, you know, bounce ideas off people, be able to talk to someone when you have something difficult, you're going through something difficult in your life, being able to share your wins as well, not just in bad moments, but in good moments. And that brother is also somebody who is happy for you when you are doing well, somebody who is there to encourage you when you're maybe not doing so well as well. And then obviously it goes both ways as well. As much as it's great to have somebody who is like a brother to you in that sense, you also need to do the same for your brothers, your sisters, the people that you're around, basically.
Also, quick PSA. It was, I just only mentioned brothers, but just to kind of say that, in these kind of translations, the Latin, Greek languages, even those that know, Spanish, French, etc., like when you have the plural of brothers and sisters, or like male and female, they just translate it as brothers or males. So it's not just brothers, sisters, having that kind of, sibling like love and support for one another.
So the second Greek meaning of love that we're talking about today is storge. I'm not 100% sure if we're pronouncing it right, but maybe we'll we'll have a look at that offline and maybe come back with the correct pronunciations next week. But storge is basically familial family love. So that's love between brothers and sisters, yes, mothers to fathers, or well, mothers to fathers in the family kind of unit, mothers to sons, sons to mothers, and sons to fathers, all of that stuff. Basically, the family unit, the love that keeps that family unit together. So, the verse that we looked at for this is First Timothy 5, verse 8, and it says, "But if any provide not for his own, and specially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. That's the King James version. I think there is I might just get it in another version there very quickly. New Living Translation says, "But those who won't care for their relatives, especially those in their own household, have denied the true faith. Such people are worse than unbelievers." Basically, what that verse is saying is that those who belong to a certain family have a responsibility on them to provide for their family. When we say provide, it's not necessarily just financial provision, but also providing, a caring environment. This goes both ways, not necessarily just for a parent, the way that we're kind of taught that, parents need to train the child up in the way of the Lord and all of that stuff. Give them a nurturing environment to learn about God, accept God for themselves, but also give them a nurturing environment in terms of being able to grow, do the things that they want to do, succeed in life, all of that stuff, being emotionally there for them. Yes, that is a responsibility of a parent, but then at the same time, it's also in this storge love that, that familial love is kind of created where a child also, I would say, a child also has the responsibility of being there for their parent, being able to have a relationship with their parent. When I think it's probably more so sons and mothers, but when a son sees his mother in pain or not feeling the best, it's gonna make that person feel a certain way. I know it makes me feel a certain way with my mom, and I would be like, "Mom, what's wrong? What's going on?" Try to get to the bottom of the issue, stuff like that. Just having that relationship and that kind of true love for each other as family members. That's what that verse and the definition of storage love is getting at.
Yeah, I do fully agree with that. And you can see that kind of the reason we decided to put these two together is that they're quite linked. They're really similar. It's just kind of like slight little differences, specifically brothers for Philia and specifically like, a family unit for storage. But they are quite similar. And there's even a translation in the Bible where it kind of combines the two words. So the verse Romans 12 verse 10 says, "Love one another with brotherly affection and outdo one another in showing honor." So the actual translation from love in that verse is a compound of the two words, which is philostorgus. So it just shows how they can be intertwined, but they do have obviously separate translations within the Bible for the different relationships in your life. But I think kind of even off my own interpretation, I think how we can kind of separate the two is that philia is maybe more towards like your one-on-one relationships with each individual person. With my relationship with my mom and my relationship with my dad, my relationship with this friend, my relationship with that friend, you get. And then the storages is kind of like more community, like your plural relationship with everybody, how you embed yourself in the community, how you serve your community, show love and one another. So that's how I can kind of separate the two meanings.
Yep, that sounds good. I think we'll go into football today. We have a lot of very interesting stuff to talk about from this weekend and also a look ahead as well. Special episode this is as well. I think I only just remembered whenever I was setting it up. This is actually our 10th episode. Now, it probably would have been our 20th episode at this point based on all of the stuff that went on a few months ago, but glory be to God.
Based on recordings, this is like our 15th episode. But at least we finally figured out what works for us in terms of schedule. So we can only thank God for that.
Yeah, but I don't know. What will we do first? I feel like this weekend in particular, or even maybe not the weekend, extend it a little bit more to the past week, has been interesting football wise for Premier League teams. Maybe we'll start with Champions League. So Champions League round of 16 first legs were last week.
And the week before, actually, yeah.
Actually, it was the week before, wasn't it?
It was last week and
the week before. Okay,
yeah.
no, I'm.
Yeah, I mean that's a bit, obviously you man won 2 weeks ago. You beat Copenhagen 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah, and obviously we lost last week. That was a bit of a tough loss to take as an Arsenal fan, because it was a bit like, we didn't really deserve to win, but I don't think we deserve to lose either. It was just it was a, late win at the end. It definitely wasn't our best day at the office. Tactically, we're a bit short, bit out of ideas in terms of attacking, but the late winner was just a bit of kind of a dagger. Like, I would have been really happy going back home with a 0-0, but it could turn out to be a positive, because at least they know that the second leg, like, there's no room to play. Like, they've got to come out and kind of perform to a high standard from the get-go, like they did against Newcastle on Saturday. Actually, if they can repeat that performance against Newcastle, against in the second leg, then you'd expect that Arsenal would have very little struggle in getting to the next round.
Yeah. In terms of other stuff that we kind of saw at Premier League this weekend, obviously Arsenal's win against Newcastle was the big talking point this weekend. I wanted to touch on United's kind of... What's that?
League Cup as well.
Oh, yeah. But actually, before we get to that, because that's a whole conversation on itself by itself.
This might be a long episode,
No, I think it's just a thing of there's interesting things to talk about today. That's what it is. So nothing too busy about City's match. They scored early on. They didn't take any of their other chances for whatever reason. I don't even know. But fair play to Bournemouth, only getting beat 1-0. Man United, home versus Fulham, did not look comfortable at all. I think I watched maybe 50 or 60 minutes of that match. They did not look comfortable at all. I was so, it was... Fulham controlling a game of football is very rare to see. On top of that, controlling a game of football away from home.
I can't even talk too tough, man. We took 1 point out of 6 against Fulham.
Fulham are a team that's kind of like they're it's what makes the Premier League kind of interesting, exciting, unpredictable. Where yes, United don't have the best form right now. They have probably, is it the second worst goal difference in the top half?
To be fair though, they were actually doing pretty decent before Saturday.
Before Saturday, yeah, like they had a good few run of games, and then they lost Højlund and Rashford playing up top. I don't think that can run again, simply because United actually need to. I don't know what the issue is. It's not the same kind of issue as the issue that we would say Chelsea have, but they're good sometimes and then they're bad sometimes, and it's like there's no balance. You have a good run of games, the fans are excited, this is an easy game, we're going to take the 3 points, and then they get hit for 2 the way they did.
That actually brings, you made a really good point there, because I'm just looking at the table now. Like, Man United only have 2 draws, 14 wins, 10 losses. So you can see that they're really up or down. They're really volatile.
Yeah.
They can look amazing one week and look like absolute dross the next. But it's even looking at kind of like their underlying statistics, they're very their statistics very middle of the pack. Like their what's it called? Their expected goals is only they're actually in the minuses in expected goal difference. They have expected goals against of 42.5 and expected goals for 40.
So technically they're overperforming in that regard.
They're even still kind of overperforming. It's weird with United, because it's not a problem. It's not a problem of Ten Hag or individual players. They just haven't recruited properly. over the past few years. Like the players aren't, what's the word? They aren't tactically cohesive with one another.
Yeah.
There's even this particular passage of play I seen, a clip of it I seen, and it was United pressing, and Casemiro runs to press like in the like forward left position, leaving absolutely no one behind him, and Fulham easily bypass the press, and obviously they go on to have an attacking situation. But it's, I don't know, like, you know what's actually the big difference this year though. See, I don't think that United are doing any worse. What's the word? Any worse, structurally than they were last year. It's just that certain players are not having the seasons they were having last year. For example, Lisandro's been injured a lot this year. Casemiro's been injured a lot this year. Luke Shaw's been injured a lot this year. Rashford hasn't hit the heights of last season. Those four players, just being at the top of their game last season, even if they were at the top of their game this season, I say United would be doing a lot better than they are right now. So I think they have been a little unlucky in that regard. Yeah. Because even Højlund is injured right now. Just when he scored 6 games in a row.
Yeah.
I think he's the youngest ever Premier League player to score 6 games in a row, or something along
yes,
along those lines. Yeah.
And I was saying it to my brother there the other day that it's actually kind of scary because Højlund only just turned 21. Like he's an 03 baby.
He's serious, like he is really good. Even when obviously the big jokes, my man Sean Mills off the Miracle song, obviously it was the big jokes here, but I'm pretty sure he's still the Champions League's top scorer.
Yeah, so it was like a thing where he's scoring all the goals in Champions League, but he can't score in the Premier
League.
But obviously he scored now in the Premier and he keeps scoring.
It was really easy to see like he has it. Like even when he's just a bit raw, he's a bit young, but even still, like he's still at a really high level, technically, physically, like even I think his first game was when we played them at the Emirates. And I remember he came on and he gave Gabriel's serious. Like there's maybe like 2 strikers in the world that can actually give Gabriel a serious game. And off that evidence, Højlund is one of them. They were really like going at it. Like, it was even at times it seemed like Højlund physically had the better of him. So I could just see that even with the little touches, he's going to be a really, really complete striker. I just hope that, the PMP, the white PMP curse doesn't come to haunt him, man. I really hope that it doesn't, because like he could be honestly, he could be a 25 goal a season striker.
No, he definitely could. In it boys at it after AFCON is interesting. Calvin Bassey's first Fulham goal. Alex Iwobi, I don't know when's the last time he scored a goal, but look,
why couldn't they do that in the final?
He took his goal quite well and he played a very good game, Alex Iwobi. But yeah, it's a bit too like it's the same way that all of those GFA monsters went back to their clubs in like France and in like Spain, and they started doing a madness after they got knocked out of AFCON. I think it's just it's a structural thing. AFCON is
honestly, but you know what's actually weird, bro. I've seen over the past few days that what's his name, Ola Aina played that final injured. Lookman played that final injured. And just today, I seen William Troost-Ekong had been injured since the Ivory Coast game in the group stage, and he played all the way up to the final. So how many other players were injured for Nigeria? Like, we kind of played more or less the same team throughout the entire tournament.
Yeah.
So it even looked it on the day. This is just kind of going off topic back to Nigeria, but it looked it on the day like the players looked tired, bro.
Yeah, but
like they looked like they were out on their feet, especially like even when Ivory Coast scored, we couldn't even muster up a little something to try and get the equalizer.
I feel like at times it also felt as though maybe they were just kind of going into the match not wanting to put too not wanting to do too much, or tournament season, all of that stuff is getting to them. The last thing that we would have thought was that players are playing injured, and then it also raises the question that Is it that the manager doesn't trust the rest of his squad who are not injured versus because this person is key to my starting 11, even if he's injured, he still needs to play? Or is it a case of these players are saying, no, I know I'm injured, but I'm fine enough to play.
It's a final.
You know that, that type of way.
You know, it's a final. I'm sure there's a handful of players that have played finals injured. Like, you know, it's just one of those things. Like we can't look back on it too much. You know, as my mom says, you can't cry over spilled milk. You know, we'll get number 4 another day.
Does your mom really say that?
My mom says that all the time. Like anything I say that my mom says, I promise you, it's not just to say it. Like my mom says that all the time. But just moving back to the weekend. Obviously, Chelsea and Liverpool played in a final for the 4th time in the past 5 years, and just like the previous 3 times, Liverpool won. Only this time it wasn't on penalties. Man, bro, that was a game, man. Bro, Chelsea had so many chances, but then I don't know what happened in extra time. It's like Chelsea just forgot how to play.
It was a bit like the bit of extra time that I did get to watch. Everything just looked lethargic, like in my opinion, from both teams. But then obviously Liverpool were the only team that were actually challenging the goal. So I saw Harvey Elliott came very close. In the Harvey Elliott, sorry, I don't know what happened there, but he came very close, maybe like 5 minutes before Van Dijk scored his goal. But it was never going to be a game that was going to be won in 90 minutes simply because we just know those two teams.
Yeah, especially in the final, like they really tend to go at it. I feel like speaking on behalf of Chelsea, like they should. Did you see the offside for Sterling's goal?
Yes, I saw it.
I don't know how offside that was, man. Like when I was looking, because I was watching that live, that looked onside to me. Again, you know, I'm not in the VAR. I just have to take them for their word. But you know, especially you know from the perspective of Chelsea fans, if you go back to the League Cup final in 2022, there was a similar kind of situation with Lukaku. So like, why doesn't the Premier League have the semi-automated offsides that the Champions League, the World Cup, that literally almost everyone else has?
I think it's gonna have to be brought in eventually, but I think it's that thing of the god complex of referees, where what I say is final. If I don't want to go look at the screen, if they advise me to go look at the screen and I don't want to, or if they want to go look at the screen and VAR are drawing lines and VAR are like, yeah, this is offside or this is not offside.
This brings up something again. Going back to AFCON, I don't mean to, you know, AFCON's finished, but one thing I noticed about AFCON, the referees were so good at AFCON. Like, seriously, like, in terms of, like, refereeing, the referees at AFCON are some of the best I've seen, probably, like, in the past couple of years, because you can see that there's no agendas. There's no trying to be the big man. There's no trying to take over the show. If there's any little thing for VAR, straight to the screen. Go watch the screen, because I don't know. I mean, I'm not there, so I can only assume. But comparing the Premier League and AFCON specifically, what it looks like in AFCON is that the referees are willing to use VAR as a tool, rather than sometimes in the Premier League, it's like if they use VAR, then it's undermining them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And see, the funny thing about it is that obviously a ref goes to the screen in AFCON, you're still going to add your like 10 minutes on at the end of the second half. In the Premier League, they're still going to add the 10 minutes, but half the time they will spend like 3 minutes just waiting to hear something from VAR. That, oh, we have drawn the lines, we have done everything. It's offside, but go check the screen.
Like, I don't know, like, you know, with VAR, the amount, at least, VAR, I'll give the Premier League some credit. The past few weeks, there hasn't been anything too crazy, you know, but like apart from, I think Brentford should have had a penalty a couple weeks ago against Liverpool. That's the only thing I can remember off the top of my head, you know. But really, kind of like the first few months of the season, it was really bad.
It was bad.
It was really bad, you know. But yeah, it's just something for, you know, for Premier League. I hope Premier League referees, etc., the officials, people are in charge, were watching how VAR was conducted at the AFCON, because that's exemplary. Like that's exactly how it should work. Even just to give a little anecdote, the semi-final for when we're playing against South Africa. Obviously, Osimhen, had the second goal. We thought we're going through to the final, but then they bring it back for the penalty that happened because it was literally what happened. We fouled a South Africa player in the box, yeah, and then we counter-attacked and scored. But then they brought it back, and while we were annoyed in the moment, it was completely 100%
No, it was 100%
the right call.
Because we were looking at because watching it live, it was like, that's a penalty. Referee hasn't blown, and you're like, that's a penalty. They're defo pulling this back, and then you score, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's not gonna count. That type of way.
Yeah, but it's just something to watch. Just let the tools, let the technology do its job.
Yeah, but like that aside, obviously that happened. If it wasn't ruled as offside, maybe the match would have taken a different kind of turn after that. But Chelsea were poor in terms of taking opportunities, taking chances. We looked at the squad and we were like, the Liverpool squad, like the squad that was announced. We're like, Chelsea are still going to find a way to lose this match.
That's the thing.
That's
the thing. That's the thing. But even one thing that I will say about Liverpool is that, they're finding ways to win games. They are finding ways to win games. Maybe it's the little, Klopp's leaving fairy tale. I don't want to be part of their fairy tale, man.
Look, they've won a League Cup. It's okay. That's Klopp's
that's your fairy tale. That's your fairy tale. That's your fairy tale. At least you got something, man. Please.
Yeah. No, but it's impressive though. Just looking at it all, because what was it that Gary Neville said? Klopp's kids beat Chelsea's
blue £1 billion bottle jobs. Bro, I couldn't believe that. I was watching it live. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, bro. Bars, bro. The alliteration and everything, bars.
But he was spot on though. Because the question needs to be asked. Chelsea are spending so much money. Chelsea are recruiting literally the best players as individuals, and realistically, with the right manager and the right strategy and structure, these players could play like these. In my opinion, based on the amount of money that Chelsea have spent, and it's not like they're just throwing money at rubbish players. They're throwing a lot of money, to be fair, but they're throwing money at very talented footballers.
Yeah,
they can create a team that can actually dominate the Premier League. But why they're not doing it, I don't understand. I don't get it.
See, that's the thing though. You can't just, they're not buying. They're buying. They're trying to do it like, I don't know if, like, in basketball when they say, oh, just get the best players together, get the best 5 players together and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's 11 players on a football pitch. That's a lot more. Like, there needs to be cohesion. Unless you're Real Madrid, and even when Real Madrid used to just get the best players together, they didn't touch the Champions League quarterfinals for like 5 years. You have to there has to be cohesion. Like, one player being in a position has to be optimal for the next player and optimal for this player. There has to be relationships. They just kind of like, there's no relationships tactically in the Chelsea team.
Like, the thing is, you go into that dressing room and they're probably best mates. And obviously that's part of being teammates and a team kind of gelling and working. But as you said, tactically it's not there. And so far they haven't been able to find the person who is going to bring them to that place.
I will give them some credit and say Chelsea's underlying numbers are decent. They do generally have some nice patterns of play. Like, it's not completely disoriented. They have some nice patterns of play. They can't keep the ball because, like I said, talented players. They can keep the ball. They can pass it around. At times they can defend really well. And if you looked at their underlying numbers, I'm pretty sure Chelsea should be somewhere around 5th, 6th, 7th. I don't know the exact place they should be. But, it's just they just all this money for very little, like, decisive, game-changing players. And then even, they've bought some talented players, but then they've also overspent wildly. Like, there's like, okay, in terms of worth for money, we're probably looking at maybe Malo Gusto being worth what he was bought for. Maybe Cole Palmer. Mudryk Mudryk, like, honestly, the only thing that makes me look sideways at Arteta is that Mudryk, that he was willing to pay almost three figures in terms of millions. So it's how much that? That's 9 figures. He was willing to pay almost 9 figures for Mudryk, and every time I see Mudryk, he doesn't look like he's worth even 30 million.
But see, that's also, I think it's also a function of the tactical cohesion at Chelsea just not existing. Because I promise you, if Arsenal signed Mudryk, I don't want to say anything too crazy about where they are now, because they have done significantly, I won't say better than what we expected, but they've done well considering the fact that they wanted to sign someone like Mudryk and they didn't. But if Arsenal had signed Mudryk, it was January last year, innit?
Yeah.
If Arsenal had signed Mudryk January last year, I don't think the title would have slipped away from them the way it did, and that much at that stage of the season, because he was on fire when he signed, and obviously he wanted Arsenal and all of the transfer saga around that. But Arsenal is a different team to Chelsea in terms of obviously tactics, structure, all of that stuff. But it's a place where, Tata doesn't show interest in players for no reason. And in that regard, because obviously you're taking Jesus Zinchenko, maybe you look at them as what you can get from City, but he had a plan, and he's put that plan into action. At least he started the beginning phases of that plan. I believe he would have done the same thing with Mudryk. It's just Mudryk signed for a team that doesn't really have a plan.
And that's the thing. Obviously, you look at these young players. Sometimes you think, why couldn't they have gone to a different club? Why couldn't they have gone? Why couldn't they have just hold on? Why couldn't you have just, waited? Like, for example, Enzo, I'm sure he would have had the pick of the footballing world if he just waited till the summer. But then you also have to look at it from a bit of a human perspective, Dan. As you know, like, even especially a guy like Caicedo, these guys are getting life-changing money. Sometimes you might look at the 8-9 year contracts and think, what they doing.
Signing as well with slavery. So
that's securing their family,
their future, literally.
Their kids, maybe even their grandkids. So I won't go too tough on the players, because that's fully understandable. But you've got to be able to, you have to buy players with a plan. Because I remember we every fan other than Chelsea said they're buying players without a plan. They said, they have something going on. And we're seeing the fruits of that they bought loads of players, spent loads of money with no plan. And I'm pretty sure Chelsea are approaching the Premier League's FFP. Like, as in, they need to be careful.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If a couple things go wrong for them this season, they could be in trouble come the end of the season.
I think the issue that it's going to bring for the next manager after Posh, because I don't see Posh lasting to the end of this year. He might not even last till summer. But the issue that it's going to leave for the next manager is to really actually put a plan in place for Chelsea Football Club. There's going to need to be a massive cut. And at the same time, they're going to need to actually recruit strategically, and without being restricted financially, not in terms of the amount of money you have, but the amount of money you're allowed to spend with FFP, is going to cause problems for that manager who's going to try and change Chelsea. So they've kind of pumped money into the club in terms of buying players and all of that stuff. That hasn't worked, and now it's leaving a massive problem for even moving forward into something that could potentially work.
See, that's the thing, yeah. Like, I feel like sacking the manager, it's gonna make it worse.
Oh yeah.
'Cause, like, literally, like, off what you just said, even me, honestly, looking back on Chelsea's past couple of years, yeah. Personally, I think they should have kept what's his name, Potter. I think they
wasn't given enough time.
I think they should have kept Potter. I don't think he was given enough time. You could argue and say that maybe it was slightly too early for Potter in terms of, like, being at a big club.
Yeah.
Brighton are a club that get away with not doing good for a huge amount of time, but then when they have their little good run of form, they're the talk of the town. They're Brighton's amazing. Brighton, look what Brighton are doing.
Yeah.
But at a big club, you don't get that luxury of
Time.
when you're not doing well to go under the radar.
The eyes are on you constantly. Like.
You know, but even still, I still think that, you know, Potter should have been given enough time. That's coming back to, you know, sacking the manager. It's sacking the manager, being disorganized, all of this. Because this Chelsea's problem is not just Poch. It's not even just Bowley. It's been going back a few years now. It's just finally coming home to roost. Because, you know, Chelsea have always thrived off chaos, always thrived off change, off, you know, turnover, off this and that. But, you know, when that one time, those couple of years where it doesn't work, they've now crashed. You know, now I will say that if Roman Abramovich was still around, it wouldn't have been this bad.
Yeah.
But it was kind of already, Chelsea were already trending in a downward direction even before Roman Abramovich left. So, you know, in terms of Chelsea, I think in the future, you know, terms of, you know, looking at the future, obviously a lot of talented young players. If Poch or whoever can get it right, then Chelsea will still have a formidable side to come in the future. But will they get it right? How can they even get it right?
That's the question. That's the question. Honestly, because it's what makes the league interesting. I hope it happens because Chelsea are Premier League heritage at the end of the day. They're part of that Premier League heritage, and it'll kind of be obviously I think they're one of those clubs that's kind of too big to fail in the sense that they're not like an Oldham who were in the first division maybe 30 years ago and are now non-league. It's never going to get to that point for Chelsea, in my opinion. But Chelsea becoming like a staple mid-table side doesn't seem right.
It probably wouldn't be good for the league either. Even though personally for me, you know, this is quite nice. You know, they give me a lot of pain as a child, so this is lovely to watch. But like, you know, it shouldn't be forever. You know, like clubs like Chelsea should continue to remain at the top.
Yeah, I think lastly, before we wrap up the episode, a look ahead in particular to a big, you could almost say title deciding match between City and Liverpool, which is on the, I don't want to
10th.
I don't want to misquote the date. I really don't want to misquote the date. So City are playing Liverpool on, Sunday the 10th of March. It's an interesting one because Liverpool have a lot of absentees right now, but City have a very busy and very demanding schedule between now and then. So today is Monday the 26th. As of time of recording, City are playing Luton in the FA Cup 5th round tomorrow night.
Oh, swear.
They're playing, so Luton FA Cup 5th round tomorrow night. Manchester Derby home on Sunday.
Champions League next week.
Champions League, Copenhagen round of 16 second leg next Wednesday, I believe. And then Liverpool in the league, that is away on the Sunday. So very busy schedule for them, very important games. How those games turn out is going to very much dictate how City will play on that day. Added to the fact that it is at Anfield, which has always been a difficult place for anyone to go play, especially City as well in recent years. So it will be interesting to see what Klopp does with the squad that he does have right now and the players he has available. I would hope that a few of their absentees right now will become available by then, just because it's going to make the match more interesting. But again, the way that match turns out is going to shape the title race, because I think at that point City will go ahead of Liverpool if they do win.
That's if both teams win their games up to that point.
That point, yeah.
Even just looking at, obviously, just to touch a little bit on obviously the title race. There's actually only 12 games left. You know, not that long. Just to touch on the title race a bit. This is a really key month for City, because just looking at you guys' fixtures, you man got United, Liverpool away, Brighton away, then you're facing us. So this is your month where, because
that's even Easter Sunday. Yeah. That's crazy.
This is your month where it's either gonna make or break you. If you guys come through this month unscathed, then you guys will probably win the league because your running after like mid-April is pretty favorable.
The thing that I will say though is I agree with that, but if March turns out like half the way City want it to be, the running, as much as it is straightforward on paper, is actually going to be so much difficult because as much as City have this great mentality, even in times where they're maybe not doing so great, that close to the end of the season, I don't know how we'll go. So Liverpool and Arsenal and at least one of those other two games are must wins for City anyways. But if they don't, title race is going to be a lot more open. So
honestly, it's a weird little situation. Those two showdowns, us and you Man and Liverpool, I think they're must wins for everybody involved.
exactly, it's
actually must wins for everyone involved. So this March is probably going to be the month. It could be the month that decides the Premier League title.
Yeah, I think on that note, this has been a very long episode, but a very interesting episode. As I said, there was a lot of interesting things to talk about, and it was quite an enjoyable episode in my opinion as well. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, guys, for coming and sharing this moment with us.
Special thank you if you made it to the end.
100%. We appreciate you guys a lot. Obviously, we love all the love and support that you guys have been giving us so far. Our socials will be in the description or in the bio of whatever platform you're listening to here. So Instagram at RebornFootball Podcast.
You can find everything else on the link tree.
Link tree is there as well. So it'll be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, everywhere that you're looking for it. And yeah, thank you so much again. That's me. I'll let Tans take us out.
Thank you for listening to that. This is our 10th episode. So thank you for listening and God bless. Take care.